So this guy, I meet him in Bombay 3 weeks ago, makes me feel like the hottest girl in the room because you know what he says? He says, I'm like, I watch the SaaS operators all the time. And then at the end of our coffee, he's like, that felt like a private SaaS operators recording. And I was just like, take me now, like warms my heart. It was awesome. Yeah.
It was lovely meeting you, Rishabh. Yeah.
You guys met up in Bombay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, I was going to say, I actually I'm not trying to flatter you, Rishabh. Like, I actually got like a real SaaS operators episode. So, like, for myself, one-on-one. Maybe this could be a thing. Maybe this is like a consulting line you guys could launch. I don't know. But yeah, it's quite fun.
No, dude, don't depress me like that. Consult. I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but I'm never going to charge someone to spend time one-on-one with me. I'm like never going to do that. Yeah.
You're just going to be selective about who you give one-on-one time with, because otherwise, that's a lot of one-on-one time. I was going to say, I live for those moments where people like warm your heart. With my first brand, I used to get these essays from people who liked our products about how much it changed their life. Like a long Facebook message. My first brand was when, people were building brands on Facebook primarily. So we had like Facebook groups and stuff. Man, when a customer would send me a long message, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing it. But the negative comments would also cut me. When people were like, I don't know, you have such a croaky voice. They're like, oh, man, this hurts.
Really?
Yeah, because I with my first brand, I had a YouTube channel and we had like a few 100,000 subscribers. And, I did tutorial videos on how to use our products, but I was nervous. It was like my first time. For a lot of the videos, I wasn't even on camera. It was just a screen recording. And so I was a little bit croaky, and some people would comment and be like, oh, you're so croaky. I'm like, fuck, I know, I need to fix this.
Dude, I never read the negative. I do read them, but I'm like, I'm surprised that they bother you. I'm genuinely surprised. Or maybe I see why it would bother you at the time, and probably doesn't now, right? Like, is that a fair representation?
Yeah. I was 20 at the time.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you either have to start out with really thick skin, or you have to have a lot of people say negative things about you to kind of get over it. So actually, I wouldn't say I'm over it, just to be clear. It still bothers me sometimes when people say things to me, but I'll kind of sit on it for a few minutes or say things about me.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much now as it used to, but not nearly as much. But usually what I will do is I sit there, I kind of think about it for a little bit. I put myself in their shoes. I'm like, okay, I can see why some things you just flat out ignore, but some things are actually like, the most hurtful ones are the ones that are the most descriptive by the people who are closest to you, right? Like the closer the person is, the more it hurts. And so in that context, I'll try to put myself in their shoes and be like, okay, well, I see where they're coming from. I also usually it's not something I had control over. It's not something I could have done differently. Or I can look at that and be like, okay, well, maybe I could have done something differently, but I did the best that I could in the moment, knowing what I knew. So I just kind of process it a little bit, move on. So I've had a lot more of those things in the last year than I was used to in the past. That's okay.
Right. When I watch the old videos that I used to make on YouTube, I see the way that I behaved. And it was very much like when you're young, you're trying to find your feet in the world, right? You're trying to act appropriately. But you don't really know what appropriately is. Like my business grew very fast. And, I went from being a broke university student to suddenly having a business and hiring all my friends very quickly. So I really didn't know what I was doing at all. I was just making it up as I was going along. But I think, nowadays you just I don't know, you contextualize it, right? If it comes from someone close to you, you think, okay, this is really good information for me to course correct, maybe, right? If it is actually a representation of reality. And if it's not, then it's just whatever, right?
Yeah. And I think people also interpret things just they're in their own head. Because I got canceled on LinkedIn a few weeks ago for saying people should read a book on the weekend. Yeah. I said the most basic thing that you could say. Hey, I said something about team culture. Hey, at SARAL, everyone's kind of spending a few hours on the weekend reading a book or doing a course or pursuing a fitness milestone or something like that, and people got mad at me. They're like, how can you control what your employees do on the weekend? I'm like, that's not what I said. But then people just got so mad at me in the comments, and then I just leaned into it then. So I like to, I don't know, maybe I'm the opposite of like you, Jack, but I just like feed them. I'm like, yeah, that's just how it is. And then it's just like, it got like, I think it got like 100,000 impressions or something, that post in 24 hours. It was quite crazy. So
Incredible.
Oh my
I feel like
god.
this is what Rishabh is doing accidentally, right?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say something that is going to be like close to reality, but I do think because I just came off of like a coaching. I have like an exec coach, and I just came off of a coaching session with him, and so I'm curious what you guys think of this. There's this thing that is changing. Like the market is changing ridiculously fast right now. I mean ridiculously fast. Okay, so I think about just our company. And 5 months ago, we were a single product company. Okay. We used to sell like funnels that you would use that were generated against your paid ads. Okay. Fast forward only 5 months later, and we were primarily selling to the mid market. Fine. You fast forward 5 months, we are selling to large enterprises. We are selling a platform that is based off of like consumer behavior. And there are like 5 different product surfaces that are live with customers. Okay. In 5 months. The go-to-market shifted, the number of products shifted, the platform shifted. I mean, it's just like the speed with which you can do things has changed fundamentally. So my own experience is saying that this is true. But then you like look at Twitter and it's like Claude Code, something happened over the holidays where people like all of a sudden turned on to it in a new way. I guess it's called OpenClaw now, but the artist formerly known as Claudebot happened in the last like 2 weeks, and I think I was like I was sharing this, and this gets to now the team question. My realization as I was sharing this was your team used to be able to operate on a time scale that spanned quarters. Okay, so you would do annual planning, you would have goals that were set up quarterly, you would like as a salesperson, for example, or as a marketer, you would be like, okay, when is the product coming in? Okay, then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go sell. By the time you do those operations, if you operate on that time scale, the world has changed. So like you used to be able to like think about a product, deploy it, and then sell it for 3 years. And now it's like, I mean, I just shared my own story, which is like, 5 months later, we have 4 new surfaces being used by large enterprises, whatever. So clearly a year is too long. Okay. A week is like ridiculous, I think. Like expecting people to be able to like operate on a week is way too short. But it is something in the middle. And it looks very different than it used to. And I wonder, how do you guys think about this? And do you think it's possible to get your companies and everybody in the company to operate at this new pace that is clearly getting pulled by the market, right? Like, I don't even think you have a choice anymore. Like, either you operate at this new pace or you like fade into irrelevancy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to support your point there is, I don't know how we're going to adapt, but we were, and I think you and I touched on this, Rishabh, a little bit. I'm like super EOS heavy in how we operate the company. So we have like OKRs, we have the L10 meetings, we do all of that. We have bi-weekly check-ins, we have a standards report. Like it's all pretty streamlined. And then for the last like year, it's just like that whole way of operating. Like we set a goal of some sort, and then like you said, the market changed. Like, okay, you're building the product hoping for PMF, but then the market changes, or somebody launches something that's faster, so that quarterly pace of working and that OKRs, which are typically by quarter, are just breaking for us. So I don't know what the new sort of, maybe just have like a few org level goals and everybody runs towards those and we hit them. I don't know what the new sort of AI world EOS looks like, but I'm also curious how y'all are operating and changing the way you operate to adjust for this.
One of the challenges with trying to move faster on things is some things just take some time to develop too. So like, for example, a new product launch, one thing I've always seen with new product launches is that it takes some time to educate your customers and the market about what you're doing. And if you move too fast, you might bail on something before you've actually validated it properly. But you also don't want to move too slow on these things, right? So I find it very challenging. Like in the past, I've always thought of, okay, if we're going to launch something new, we kind of have to give it 6 months to see, is the market actually going to adopt this thing? So I think I agree that an annual plan is like, like we've been working on annual plans, but I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is like the revenue objective and like the path we think we can take to get there, but like the actual activities to make that happen, that's getting reset literally every quarter, right? There's no, and we're kind of operating quarterly at the moment with the idea of like, here's what we're trying to do this quarter, and then moving on from there. So I don't know what the balance is. To me right now, quarterly planning feels like the right approach in terms of like product oriented things, but it might not be fast enough. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't have any experience hiring in the software space, but I feel like looking at service-based businesses, agencies, most full-time hires are made really inefficiently, right? It's sort of like I have a suite of tasks and projects that I need regularly repeated, and I need a warm body to do that. And if the goalposts move, you know, it's not really the employee's responsibility to build the plane as they fly it, right? It's the service businesses. I don't know what that's like in a software business, but I imagine it's pretty similar. But yeah, I don't know. When you buy something, you're indirectly employing a bunch of people and a bunch of systems to do something for you. And when you order an Uber or you hire through Upwork, you're directly hiring someone for something to get done with like varying levels of complexity. And I feel like those employments are extremely efficient, right? When you employ through Upwork or on a project basis or an Uber, it can get more efficient, right? And I don't know. I think that that allows you to be agile, but you are still the person who's in charge of direction at every point, right? Or whoever it is that's employed to employ people on a project basis is in charge of direction as opposed to that employee, right? But yeah, there's some level of abstraction I think is really interesting with full-time hires. And it's like, I don't know, take the role of, I don't know, head of go-to-market or head of sales or whatever it happens to be. You know, you're saying, okay, I need you to do this thing and maybe whatever the future of this thing looks like and stay up to date with that. But it's not a one and done task, right? You're committing to that transaction on a regular basis.
This is the thing that I don't know how it's going to evolve, but I think the way we operate, yeah, Jack, I think that's a really interesting analogy around like, what is your agreement with the person on the team? Like, I'll give a good example. So inside of my company, now what I am asking people to like, it used to be like, hey, I need you to do this task for this quarter with this goal. Like now, kind of what I'm asking people to do is like, I need you to keep up with the market at this pace. So that way, when someone interacts with you with this type of question, you are informed enough to respond in this way, which is which is like a totally different thing. It has more to do with like what I would describe as like an athletic stance, like you're kind of ready to move with the market. And I think that every vendor is being asked to do this. So we just churned a bunch of SaaS tools, okay? Which as a SaaS company, I'm like, oh my God, I can actually, sorry, I don't even describe us as a SaaS company anymore. I describe us as an AI platform, and I'll get to that in a second. But
Nice.
I'm like, we cannot be a SaaS company because look at what we just did. We turned off of Gong. We turned off of Fivetran. We turned off of Zoom Info. We're turning like at a ridiculous rate.
You're breaking my heart.
The
I'm checking Stripe.
And the vendors that we grow with, I expect them to be AI. I'm remembering a conversation I had now with my head of finance. She also like runs our HR and people ops, and I mean, she just like runs most of our ops basically. And she was asking me about buying green. Do you guys know what Greenhouse is? It's like a applicant tracking system.
Yeah.
It's like Ashby or
Like
it's
a
an applicant
CRM
tracking
for
system.
applicants. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember her asking me like, "Hey, which tool do you think we should buy?" And I was like, "Buy the one that's an agentic platform." Is like literally how I responded. And I finally reflected on my own buying behavior enough to realize if I'm telling my team not to buy SaaS, so is everyone else. Like buyers want to buy agentic platforms now. And like I was like, I literally said, is there an agent? Is it getting better? And are they investing in it? like that was my buying criteria. And I wonder how much of that is going to, like, especially over 2026, like, is this the year that really comes to fruition? Because I'm like observing my own buying behavior to become like that. And so like I feel like, I mean, this is like the SaaS Operators podcast. At some point, we're gonna have to rename it because there's not gonna be any SaaS. Yeah, and I think how we operate our teams is going to change, and I think how we think about our product is going to change.
I think there's an interesting overlap there with the sort of project-based gig economy style of Upwork and Uber and your full-time hires. Because with agents, it's sort of point and shoot, and to some extent, maybe it's a little bit more complicated than point and shoot if it's planning and there's lots of different steps to achieve the goal of whatever it is that the agent is trying to achieve. But yeah, most AI agentic tools right now are text or voice based on inputs from the person who is setting direction, around whatever idea that they have and whatever thing that they want to achieve. And it's sort of point and shoot. It's sort of like project based. Get this thing done, right? But obviously infinitely more scalable than humans because AI doesn't need to sleep and it's a lot smarter.
Rishabh, do you think that buying behavior translates beyond tech? Like, do you think you're looking to? I'm just trying to push back a little bit. So, like, do you think you want to buy agentic software because you're building agentic software yourself, versus do you think like that if you care about agentic software at say like a level 9 out of 10, do you think like an e-com brand owner like cares the same way when they're buying like say support software, for instance?
Not yet. But let me ask you back a different question. Do you think the answer to that question in 2030 is yes?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So at some point between today and 5 years from now, the answer becomes yes.
Mhm.
And so now all we're debating is the time scale,
Time. Yep.
right? Okay. If all we're debating is time scale, I would rather be early than late.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's interesting to think about what AI represents to the customer or the prosumer today, and I think that's profit. I think that the consumer right now used to see software as, well, minimized inputs going to save me time. It's going to do a certain thing. It's going to unlock a certain capacity. It's going to be able to do it better or more. And I think that that's the same idea that they have with AI now. It's going to minimize inputs. It's going to maximize outputs. I'm going to be able to do more with less. And that delta represents profitability to me, or profit. And also, in a way that software doesn't, but AI does, it represents the cutting edge, right? This is the bleeding edge. This is early adopting. If I get AI, like what that sort of represents is something that's newer and more capable of that sort of scale of minimizing inputs and maximizing outputs rather than just software, right? Because basically, these are the same thing, right? AI is software, right? But it's a different kind of software. And I think to the consumer, it represents software at its peak, right? Would you guys agree?
Well, yeah, I think there's what's interesting too. I think that the agentic stuff has changed the way in which I think about building things. In terms of like I've been playing a lot with Replit lately, just for fun, because the reality is in my day job I don't do a ton of it because like it's hard to actually take something that I built and translate it to something that's functional for my team. So it's been probably a year since maybe not a year, 9 months or so since I used Replit. It's way better now, which that's also really interesting. It's taken out a lot of the planning. And I think part of what's happening now if you are the creator of software, I think a lot of what's important here is actually just like incremental improvements, not so much big feature launches, big things that you're doing. And I look at agents in sort of a similar way. You basically ask an agent a question and the agent goes off and does something and it comes back to you. And then that creates a new set of questions and you ask those questions. And so there's this change I think that's happening where like there's actually less planning. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, to be honest. It's probably a bad thing in some ways. But it's also really good because at the end of the day, like part of the problem that you end up having with planning is that you have a lack of information. And so I kind of have been thinking about in the way that we build software, like it's very easy to look at the software we have and say, there's a very obvious problem in front of us that we need to fix as soon as possible. Let's fix that thing and then get to the next thing and then fix that thing or make it better, whatever that is, right? So there's kind of this big picture, here's where we want to go. But there's also just like all the things between now and then don't really matter. It's really about how do we get to the next step as quickly as possible. And that's kind of the way I've been thinking about it. And I feel like that kind of mirrors the actual interactions that we have with agents too. So maybe it's changing the way that I think about planning. And so, Rishabh, I don't know that fully, like I still kind of look at it like I think of things on a quarterly basis, like here's what we're trying to accomplish this quarter, but the exact steps to get there don't really matter. We just take it one step at a time and get there as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I think that, by the way, the path dependence is everything, right? Like it turns out that once you do a thing, it will inform the next thing. And so, I mean, I think we're agreeing because, and I think probably I just view the path dependence as significantly more important than the statement of the objectives. Because I'm like, so it's probably just a bias of my quote unquote upbringing. Like as a scientist, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to like do these experiments and then I'm going to like do the next thing. And like all of a sudden I discover something, right? Like that's like what the scientific process looks like. And so maybe it's just a framing thing because of like how I was brought up. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Yash, I want to make sure you describe you when we caught up in person,
Mhm.
you were sharing like what your product does and how people use it and where you see gaps. And it, I want to challenge some of what we talked about then
Let's do it.
in this context. Yeah.
Let's do it. So you want me to tell a little bit about SARAL and what we do?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So SARAL, we're a influencer operating system, as I like to call it. We help brands find influencers, contact them, manage relationships, track, pay, everything you would want to do with a creator program you can do on our platform. And then we've sort of differentiated right now in a way where we enable them to build programs in a certain way that reduce their risk of failure by walking them. We've built software in a way that biases for less and less risk over time the more they use it. And that's what we do. So long story short, that's that. On the personal side, it's been 3 years that I've been running. I know Jeremiah and I spoke way back one-on-one when I was like just launching. So yeah, 3 years bootstrapped, cash flow positive, mostly selling to e-com. So yeah, that's that.
But I've been getting the updates for 3 years, so it's been really cool to see the progress there too. And I actually love
Yes.
just a side note for anybody listening. I love the updates because it's cool to see because of the way a business like this works. You have if you're on a rocket ship, it's like it has to refuel sometimes too. I don't know if that's the best analogy, but it's like you go up, and then you hit some sort of like little plateau. Like things don't go. The thing that was working over the last 6 months stops working, and so you got to like find the next thing and then go on from there. So I don't know. It's been cool to kind of see that in your updates too.
And you know this, Jeremiah. Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but like that, just the refuel thing is really good because we literally had to refuel customers. Like we went from 0 to million in 14 months, and then it was all really small, like really small SMB brands, like less than $1 million GMV sort of brands, and then we had a self-serve motion. We completely changed the business model. So we went from self-serve to sales-led. So previously you could just start a trial and anybody could start using it. Now you have to book a call. We tripled our prices, went up market. We almost had to like over the last 12 months replace the first $1 million of high churn SMB revenue with low churn mid-market, more highly committed customers revenue, and like entirely change the business model. So like last year was like a refueling year because we literally like depleted all the old customers and refueled with better customers. So yeah, completely on point.
Something you mentioned, and I'm curious if this is still true, is like the value of the platform is correlated to how effectively it's used, which is like very typical of SaaS, right? It's like, we're giving you the tool, but you're the workman. And so here's the tool, madam or Mr. Workman, please use the tool. And we were sort of debating some of like how to think about that. And, like Taylor has this view of you've got to be like a software enabled agency. So you have to have like it's like there are different versions of how to interact with this question. I'm curious what Jack thinks too, because my impression is like Jack and Zach are like, you got to build the best UI and UX, and like people will know how to use, like it is a tool that they will want to use. That's the impression that I get. But I'm curious, Jack, what you think. But Yash, when you think about that problem statement, and now that agents can do crazy things, does part of you feel like, why don't I just give them an agent to operate the platform for them?
Yeah, we're early experiments are ongoing on that. We've used other people's agents. They're not as good. We're trying to see if we can do something different in that regard. But yeah, totally. Like, so I'll tell you like the pre-AI stuff that we saw, right? It was like, because I think it's also kind of like a spectrum with software. We're probably on the worst end of that spectrum, or towards the worst end, because there's so much you could do with an influencer platform, and there's so many things that could go wrong. It's kind of like, the best analogy really is HubSpot, for instance. Like, if you buy HubSpot, that doesn't mean you buy a sales team or a sales process or product market fit. Like, there are so many other things that have to go right in a business for HubSpot or Salesforce to be useful. Versus if you think about like Intercom, like customer support software, like it's so to the point that there isn't much that you can like do wrong with the software. So at that point, I think the UI really matters. But for us, it does matter, and we take our design really seriously. But it's like there's so many things you could do wrong that you could literally like waste 3 months doing the wrong thing, which is why we have a really serious customer success and onboarding process versus somebody like, let's just say, an Intercom board, because it's really like a point solution. So yeah, and then like totally working on replacing a lot of the CS work with agents right now.
It does kind of bring up an interesting point though, where there's certain types of products, software solutions, where it's really easy to implement AI, and others where it's actually really hard. And I think that's been one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, is how we actually like a CS function in a software like yours that's actually much harder than an agent that's answering customer support tickets, because the inputs are so well defined, the outcomes are so well defined, and then in your context, that's not the case. So I think that's a kind of an underrated aspect. And actually, Rishabh, I'm curious how you think about that, because I think you all are dealing with that too, I'm sure, and I'm sure you have a mix of like people and agents.
I think we're like back to a timescale question, just like you described your interaction with Replit. And 9 months ago, like it was meh, like kind of built, like you could build like a dashboard app, and now you can build like a real app. And I don't know, man. Like, I think this, and this goes back to how I buy software now, which I think, Yash, is your point. Like, I don't know how many people are buying like me yet, but at some point, everyone will buy like I do. I expect every tool that I buy to have an agent that can operate it. Like you said, like HubSpot. No, like unacceptable. It is unacceptable that HubSpot does not have an agent that can operate HubSpot. Salesforce. Why is like Benioff hammering Agentforce and hammering his team? He knows that there are people who expect agents to do the sales and to operate that CRM. And they're not there yet, but we're going to wake up in like 3 years and it's going to be the expectation. And because there are teams that are already operating as if it's the expectation. Like my marketing team, if I find out that they did anything manually, it's like a no bueno conversation. I'm like, can you describe Like, I don't want to know about the asset, or I don't want to know about the outcome. I want to hear about the agentic workflow that you implemented to create the thing. And I don't care what the thing is. And so, because what that does is now we're on a learning flywheel that is like fundamentally different. And like our production rate changes and our output rate, like everything changes. And so like, yeah, like if you do something manually, at least at my company, it's like it's like nothing good happens, basically.
Oh, I have so many things that have come to mind. The first one, this is a burning question. I think all of you could probably help me figure this one out. Do you guys think there's going to be a collapse in the competitive advantage of OpEx? And what I mean by that is, like, before, when software was a lot more expensive to build, teams almost had a moat, which was just the ability to build. You know, it was a capital requirement. So there was, and there still is, unintuitive software that is massively time costly to use, where you can arrive at the solution that you're looking for when you bought the software, but it's on the other side of hundreds of hours spent becoming an expert at the software. And maybe this is part of the difference between software and AI in the consumer's mind, that software can make things possible, and it's at its best, maybe it automates the solution, where AI is autonomous, and at its simplest it solves, you know, it's point and shoot, it's ask ChatGPT, what should I have for dinner tonight? But at its best, it races ahead of you. And maybe instead of just building a cool thing that solves for a business, like a business goal, like it has a business case, it might be building something that races ahead, and everything else also that's required for a successful business, like distribution and marketing. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think there's going to be a collapse in that piece, and maybe other things like distribution and marketing and actually building something that races ahead become more important?
Jeremiah, I'm curious what you think, because
yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if collapse is the right word. I mean, like I was talking about using Replit. I dropped $400 in Replit credits in the last week. Like, it's not like it's like to actually like good agents, and it's not good enough actually. Like, the only reason I can make the things work that I'm trying to do is because I'm technical enough and I know enough about software to actually like get it to where it needed to go. And there is no way I would trust this little project that I have been playing with in the hands of a bunch of users. So we're still like a couple of steps away from even that. But I look at that process, and Replit has, you know, it's effectively, I think it's like 3 different agents that are doing this thing for you, right? You've got the coder, you've got the architect, you've got like the QA. I think that stuff, and all of this is subsidized currently by VC dollars, right? So when you talk about like the cost of building these things, I actually don't think that stuff's going to be super cheap in the future. I think it will be cheaper than humans. I think you can move faster. I just don't know that, like, it's not going to zero. So if the question is like, is the cost going to become so low that like it's basically like infinite production of this stuff? I don't know that that's the case. I also think you're dealing with the challenge of, once somebody learns how to do something a certain way, it's hard to change that way of doing things. So like there's a great, at least currently, market cap wise, great software business called Constellation out of Canada. They literally just buy like small TAM software products that have high levels of stickiness. They raise the prices. They scale back the teams. They make it as profitable as possible to run it, and they do it in a way that still keeps the customers happy with the product, right? So they're not like trying to run it into the ground. But those guys, that's their entire business model, and so there is a legitimate question of like, okay, if you are trying to think of something small, you have some sort of software for operating a fire station or something, and there's only, you know, X number of fire stations in the country. Those people will pay $100 a month for the software. The TAM is $10 million. And this company owns the entire TAM. Like, is it actually worth trying to go rebuild something and compete against that? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how complex it is, but probably not. And so I think that's my longer answer. Like, I don't think it's going to zero. But I think the rate of change will be massive. And I think in certain markets, it will feel like it's going to zero, if that makes sense. Like, there's some markets where the market, because the TAM is big enough, I think it can effectively feel like somebody can come in and just like spend enough to get to the point where they can just blow everybody else out of the water.
I'll give you two reactions to that. I mean, it's a great question. I think it will be less people, but I'm not sure less expensive, because of this compute issue. And I think our hunger for compute is going to go up, not down, because we're going to be able to do even crazier things, and we're just going to want to do them. Now, I think the place where it's not a difference of opinion to Jeremiah, but it is a different opinion. So like I agree on like the fire station example, right? But the different opinion, which is also true as a consequence of the lower human need, higher agent power, things like that. And again, we're experiencing this. There are way better known companies than us who are experiencing this, like Decagon, Sierra, Legora, Harvey. What's happening is the customer realizes that the rate at which you can produce product has gone way up, because all of a sudden they start to get product really fast, right? And so businesses like ours, but let's use like the ones that are like it's very clear that this is winning, like the Harvey, Legora, whatever, like those kinds of companies, Sierra Decagon. What's happening is you get pulled in to do a single thing, like solve customer support tickets. But then they're like, actually, can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do? And you just say yes, because it takes you 2 weeks to like, that's an exaggeration. Maybe it's more like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but it's not a year, okay, to produce the next product, because it's on the same foundation. And you're just doing, it's basically like a implementation work. I mean, it is real engineering, but it is engineering implementation work. And the consequence of that is, like, the fire station example is true. And there are like ACVs are going way up. Like, I mean, because you're just getting asked to do so many things and add so much value on the other side of the spectrum. And I can tell you this because we're experiencing it. And again, I think it's underappreciated. What, like, exactly what is happening. I think like parts of the market are obviously getting it, right? That's why Decagon raised at 3x the value that it raised at 6 months ago, because people are just like, oh my God, like every one of these 100 enterprises. I don't know. Did you guys read the fundraising announcement for Decagon by any chance? Okay. The single most interesting thing about the fundraising announcement by Decagon is they signed up 100 enterprises last year, and that is the only data point that they gave. They did not say how much their revenue grew. They did not say how much. Why does that matter? It matters because all of a sudden people have turned on to the fact that if you land the logo and you believe that the product velocity is ridiculously high, every one of those 100 customers in 3 years or in 4 years, again, period of time doesn't matter. We can debate period of time. In X time, will be a multi-million-dollar customer. Because now that you're in there building agents for the company, you will add that much value. And that's just like a total reframe of how to think about like markets, market opportunity, things like that.
Rishabh, do you think this is just like a faster version of going multi-product in like traditional SaaS? Because traditional SaaS, you would hit like 10, 15, 20 million ARR, you tend to launch another product. Do you think this is like a much, much faster, accelerated way of doing the same thing, increase ACV?
No, because in traditional SaaS, you would sell the next product. What's happening is that the customer is asking, and that is different. It is a different dynamic. Like in traditional SaaS, the customer expected new products and new features to take time. And so they like didn't ask in the same way. Right? Like I like, it would be crazy for me to go to Rippling and be like, "Hey guys, could you build this thing?" But now I regularly go to like startups who I work with and say, "Build this, build this, build it," because I expect it's easy. And so like, yes, it is a version of it, but it is demand driven instead of like, yeah. And so I
understand.
It's a different dynamic. Yeah, it's a different dynamic. Yeah.
Yash, you are in the fun category of a brand with a brand name that doesn't tell anybody about the product at all. So similar to Famat. Why SARAL? Why did you pick SARAL?
Because so Saral in Sanskrit means simple. And when we started, a lot of the space was crowded with very enterprisey, boring, hard to use, complicated tools. So we were like, hey, we should call it something that's simple. Often people use Greek names or some fancy Latin phrases and so on. So I was like, hey, we are building from India, so might as well give it like a nice Indian Sanskrit name. So that is why Saral, and also intentionally so because I didn't know if it was going to work. So I wanted like a name that could be anything. Saral could be a DTC brand, right? So that's why. That's what it means.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome. I like it. I think it's nice. It's simple. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very meta.
Guys, I got to show you something. Did anyone see? I know this is very much in the world of e-com SaaS, but did anyone see the Parker launch from Alex Cooper?
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised if you didn't see it. Wait, I got to show you this. I think he's put,
Because people were dunking on him because they thought it was an icon copycat,
yeah, they were,
right?
hey?
Isn't that the primary like debate? I was just like, I don't get it, guys. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Yeah.
Oh, we're customers. I signed up right away. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's really interesting. They personified their AI agent so that, it's obviously inescapably a labor replacement. It's supposed to be, an AI creative director that lives in the place that you work in Slack. So my understanding, I mean, there's a dashboard. I haven't played around with it too much. It required a few more inputs than I was expecting. I had to upload a CSV of reviews, and the CSV had to be formatted a particular way. And I was like, oh man, we're not there yet. But yeah, my understanding is most of it's in Slack, and you just kind of chat with it like it was an employee of yours. Very interesting though. I think he did a great job with this launch video. I mean, 27th of January, it's three days and it has 1.4 million views. I'm not sure if you guys saw much of what happened with the launch, but like pretty much every big AI page on X was posting it. I saw one that said, imagine going to university for marketing for 4 years just to get replaced by a bot. I was like, look, it's Alex. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Alex has been on top of it from the very beginning. And I think that's like super underappreciated. And he deserves all the success in the world. He leaned in ways in which other people were unwilling to. Like back when the only thing ChatGPT could do is give you text, he was using it to like come up with scripts and things like that for the creators to use. I mean, like he has been pushing himself and his organization to use it in its maximal way at every stage of like maturity over the 3 years since ChatGPT, since the ChatGPT moment. And so it like my big feeling from it is like, first of all, I hope it's successful, but even more importantly, he deserves every success in the world because he has like tried to push it as much as he could at every step of the way. And I think that that's awesome. And like more people should be doing that. Yeah.
I think you brought up something really important though. The fact that people are criticizing this for looking just like Icon means that he didn't get across the fact that it's entirely text-based in this video. So, it's got 1.4 million views. People saw this. They got some impression, like a first impression that, fueled their response. It educated what they were going to say in reply to this. And it was, oh, looks like another Icon, looks like another scam. But it's just text-based, right? It doesn't promise to do everything under the sun for you. So maybe in this launch, that wasn't communicated as well as it could have been, right?
Yeah, I think the AI creative director hook also is very similar to the Icon. I think creative strategist is what AI CMO or creative strategist is what he called it. So probably also that positioning. Yeah.
Right. It's not from the discerning critiques. It's from the people who we're going to get it wrong no matter what you do. Right.
Yeah.
So literally just gives you advice. Is that the idea, and helps you with like planning and all that kind of stuff? It doesn't produce.
It's interesting. So I played around with it a little bit in Slack because my understanding is it lives pretty much entirely in Slack. It writes messages I don't want to read right now because they're too long. But it seems to connect. So it's connected to our ad account. it knows how much we're spending. It's giving fairly specific recommendations based on our ad spend, which is interesting. And also the reviews, but the reviews, man, that wasn't so fun to set up. Yeah, so it's basically very long, verbose messages about what you could do with your creative strategy. Some of the recommendations I think are incredible, but they're just like you actually have to read. If you have to value the messages to get to some of those insights.
Okay, actually, real quick, this is a very interesting topic with agents. I think because we've been doing a lot with trying to unlock reviews better. And a couple of things. One, like the default is that it's too verbose. So that's challenging. And two, I don't know about you all, but I don't read it most of the time. Like whatever, like doesn't matter if it's the things we're working on, doesn't matter if it's ChatGPT, whatever it is. Like I skim and and then I ask the next question. I'm not actually like paying enough attention to the detail. I have a really hard time actually sitting down and reading all of the things that an LLM gives me. And I'm curious if that's something you all experience too. And I wonder if one downside of having LLMs and agents doing everything is that there's so much information that we kind of just stop actually consuming it. Maybe that's ultimately not a downside because if the LLMs or the agents rather are talking to each other and doing all the things for us, then that's fine. But the actual like consumption of the output of agents and LLMs, I find really challenging to basically keep up with. It's like I'm trying to move faster than what I can actually absorb in those contexts.
Yeah, I think that's you defending your time. You know that there isn't value in the extra words that you're getting back from it. But then maybe there's a flip side here, and this is the second thing that I was thinking of when you were speaking earlier, Rishabh. Are we making our teams, especially the marketing teams, retarded? My thought here is like people are using AI to take shortcuts, and it's like the lowest quality everything. It's the lowest quality everything. Lowest quality X replies. It's the lowest quality writing. It's the lowest quality ads. Where you just see this preference for expedience and automation over doing something that's actually good, that's actually worthwhile, right? You guys seen Wall-E, where you've got the like? you've got the guy-
I don't know. Maybe I'm just more optimistic, but I think the response of the agent is what you would expect, which is it looks like a normal curve. There's this much that's good, there's this much that's meh, and there's this much that's bad. I think I only worry about the leading edge, and I just like don't worry about the rest of it because it's supposed to give me a statistical output. And so like if you view its response as a normal distribution response, it's like, okay, what's on the leading edge, what's in the middle, what's at the bottom? And then it's like fine, And I think that that's actually a fine way to interact with LLM responses. And you can tell it to give you back the information in whatever way you want to see it. So it's like, I'll give you a good example. I use ChatGPT integrated to Slack in our product releases channel where our engineers and PMs write the product spec and what it does. And it's super detailed. And I'm like, go in the product releases channel over the last week and summarize it. Like I'm a go-to-market salesperson and I really only want to know the top 3 bullet points about what we've released, what it can do, and how it impacts customers. And it does it. And the quality is great. It actually summarizes correctly. But I did give it a specific prompt with a specific point of view of how I want to receive information. I do think that is for sure the hard part about like interacting with agents is like you need to know how to tell it to communicate with you. Now, to be clear, I also have to tell humans in my company how to communicate with me because I equally don't read what they send because it also looks like a normal distribution. So like I tell people in my company, don't Slack me. If you want me to take action, send it in my email. This is what it needs to look like. Don't send me more than 3 but just like I tell a human, I have to tell the AI agent. And so I am personally, and again, and maybe I'm like I'm just optimistic, but I find it to be I find it to be fine. Now I think that there are bad agents, right? Like the reply bots on LinkedIn and Twitter are like totally trash because they're always in that median of the normal distribution. And so they like it's like completely uninsightful. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. Like it like makes you want to cringe basically. And
You
so
know
I think you just have to like not use that. Yeah.
I actually find myself replying less to things on social media because I realize I sound my normal, I'm just gonna reply to something without thinking about it, sounds like AI. So I'm just like, I just don't even reply. Unless I like actually have something thoughtful to say, I'm not gonna say it. Because otherwise it just looks like an AI bot. That is like my distribution curve is the same.
Yeah.
As long as you don't put M dashes in your replies, I think you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes I just want to write like "this is great" or something on Twitter or something. I'm like, someone's gonna say it's AI. Maybe not. Yeah.
I like what you're saying, Rishabh, because it's, this mandate to use AI is less of like a mandate to not strive for excellence. Excellence is obviously what you want to be doing, but you also want scalability. You don't want somebody to be doing something manually that can only be done once, even if it is excellent, because that's not going to scale. We're looking for excellence that scales. I like that. I think that at the same time, sometimes you just got to do the hard work. You got to do the hard thing, not the hard work, but the hard thing. Zach would probably disagree, but you just did the hard thing, right? I'm not sure if you guys saw this video that Zach put together recently, but it's incredible. I'll show you it quickly. You get the drift, right? Like,
Holy shit.
you don't get that out of an AI prompt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Yeah, but
It's-
dude, you cannot okay, see, this is the problem. You can't compare the bleeding edge of the normal distribution curve to the curve. Like Zach is like what is he, like a top 0.1% designer, right? Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know. Like, we're not going to get that yet.
Do you make like, so here's a question for you, Rishabh. Like, if everyone is Zach a top 1% designer? Would he be the same if he was like reliant heavily on AI tools in like year one of him doing design? Like, I think to Jack's point,
Totally.
I think there's like, do you get to a top 0.1% if you have like AI
Yes.
kind of making you retarded by being like a crutch to your skills?
100% you do. 100% you do. Having the best equipment makes you the best athlete.
Yeah, you know what? I hear you there. Again, I think you've got this right, Rishabh. It is about the top 1%. It is about the top 10%. It isn't about all of the drivel, right? And as soon as you start looking there, it's like, this isn't to say that Zach doesn't use AI. Zach uses AI all the time. He's not shipping new products in foreplay yet, but he is shipping new features, right?
Totally. Like, I'll give you a simple example. Like, just like how great this video is. Did you guys see that runway video that the guy from Runway ML made? Like with the bears. Look up like, fuck. Okay, we have to show it. I don't know, Jack, if it's easy for you to find, but
I'm not as quick as Jamie from JRE, but I can try.
Hold on, let me see. Runway. God, Runway ML bear video. Okay, because I want to show the equivalent of AI, the AI version of what you just showed me for Zach.
Is it this?
Anyway, like there's a bunch of people. There's like this thing went viral on Twitter. No, it's like this. It's this beautiful short film made entirely in Runway ML about like these like kids in like a bear cup costume, and you like watch this thing and you're like, oh my God, like this could be like an Oscar nominated short film. Okay. Like it's that good. And so you have to compare the 1% to the 1% or the 0.1 to the 0.1 or the 0.01 to the 0.01. And that's more my point. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people producing shitty things. And that's true with the tools and without the tools.
So Yash, what's next for SARAL? How are you getting AI involved?
We're actually going multi-product this year. So I'm very, very pumped. We're launching a new Rishabh.
Let's go.
Rishabh approves. Yes, I think we finally have the right obviously like our engineering team is like AI coding all the time, so we are shipping really, really fast, faster than ever before. But I think still not like 5 times faster, but I think we're getting there. Like I think it's going to be a process. So we're launching a new product, so that's what's next for me coming up in the next couple of months. So really just heads down, focused on making that real. So yeah, that's top of mind.
Nice. And what's the go-to-market plan? How are you planning to get everyone to use this?
So we are actually not on the Shopify App Store. This new product will be on the Shopify App Store. So SARAL is actually quite separate. We do integrate with Shopify separately through other apps, but we're not on the App Store. This one will be on the App Store. So the GTM is actually heavily reliant on standing out on the App Store. And we're doing interesting things with our pricing model and the way it's sort of structured against the first page of the App Store. That makes it really compelling to use. So yeah, that's all I can say for now. And then obviously going to look into I think I saw the SaaS Operators with, I forget the name of the two nice guys who came up, the launch people.
Matt
Yeah,
and
I forget.
Ryan. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously like going to do some sort of a launch video around it and try to get as much attention as possible on that. So yeah, all of that is currently in the works.
Nice.
Yep.
I think they're geniuses for what it's worth. I think they're
Yeah.
Totally.
I
I
think they're
agree.
extremely-
I was so inspired. Yeah.
what they nailed was they built great software that they can commercialize extremely well, right? They figured out, well, what is it that people want to buy? How do we go from idea to product as quickly as possible, and then deliver it so well? I mean, the only thing I think that is holding them back is just how much of it is actually a service and not software. But who knows? The opinion's changing on that one. So maybe they've got it right.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
got to drop, but this was fun.
Yep.
Let's go build some agents.
This was great. Yes.
All right. Talk to you
You guys
All
in a bit.
right. Thanks, guys. Yes. Bye.
Bye.